We want to build a simple contact directory with just 4 screens to start off with. These screens are an input form to enter a person's details, a list view that displays the people in the directory, an edit view to change the details of a record, and a detail view to see the details of a person from your directory. We can get data into this app a couple of different ways, but for this example, we're going to use an input form. To get started with creating your input form, let's create a new screen and give it a name called New Person. The first thing you want to do is spend a little bit of time in thinking about your data model. For this app, for this example, I want my person object to have 5 fields: first name, last name, phone, email, and the person's picture. So let's now begin by putting this form together. The best way to think through the body of the screen is to think about the order in which we want the user to enter the details of the person. And the quickest way to do it is to use components, because the components come in handy when creating screens. We can build new components, use existing ones, but note that components are made up of other components, cards, and actions. In this example, it would be best to create a new person form as a component, because, as you will see in a moment, the component will have all of the elements contained in it to make up the person form. By creating a new component, you'll notice a couple of things. We first give it a name. We'll drill in a bit further, and you'll notice that there are 3 things: an in params, an out params, and the final layout view. In params is used when bringing in data into a component, and out params, this out params tile is used when sending data out of the component. The way I want to start in creating my form is allowing the user to take a picture. And that picture component is something that's available in our library. And what it is a container that already has the formatting. It instructs the phone's built-in camera to initiate the preview. And it's available ready to go from our base design system. There's a couple of different options for the picture component, but this one is the one that I'd like to use. When using any picture components, take picture components in your app, you have to be sure that the camera preview screen is also in your app. So we have to go back to our screens page and add the camera preview screen to your app. This is also a standard screen available in the library. Great. You're now good to go with using your camera. Let's go back into our app. Let's go back to creating the new person screen. Next, I need to have 2 text fields where I can input the first name and the last name. So I would select 2 cards from our library that represent what we're looking for. The cards that I want already exist in a formatted way. Here it is. It's called the Label Text Input Card, available in our library. Now, I want the field label to actually say first name. So we can make it bindable because we're going to bind some data to it, some static data, and call it first name. Right up here. We'll duplicate this, not set a screen. but we will change the first, and we basically copied the same card and changing it a little bit. And then we want to add a phone component, which uses logic to ensure that the phone number has more than 3 digits, and it also includes a card for to input the phone number. It includes a field to input the phone number. And next, we're going to include an email component. What this email component does is converts the email string to type email. You'll see that you will see that we have a type called email, because later on, if you wish to hyperlink to an email window and write a message, then you would have needed to save that email address as type email. So now we have the 5 parts of our form here, but we want to put it together into what the body of our input form will look like, which will have these 5 sections to it. And here we can put that together. In this view, which is our screen, we want to swap it out for a layout that already exists, or one that's at least close to what we want, and make a few edits along the way if we have to. So this has kind of the elements that we want, but we want to add a couple more containers to it. So we go in to drill a bit further. We don't need a nav section, but we need a couple of body containers. So we can add those 5 input fields to our form. So we're putting in our take picture input area, the text fields for our first name and last name, phone input containers, and the email input. So now we have the body of our form, but now we want to be sure that the data from this form is going to be used and saved in our app. So what we're going to do is create a data tile, call it entity. Over here, going back to what we were originally talking about in the data model for this app, we're going to indicate that right here. And we'll call the entity person and add a few fields. We will add a first name, a last name, phone, email, and we'll call it type email, and the picture. It's actually an image. Save it. And the way we connect data values to other parts of the screen is through in-bindings and out-bindings. So we want to take this picture, just saved as data, and attach it to our data tile. The same thing goes for the first name. The last name, we want to take it from the UI and bring it into our data tile. The email, here's a phone, and the email. Now we want to take this data and bring it out of our component so we could use it in the rest of the view of this screen. So let's take the data out of here and take the record out of this component. So that would be done through the outparams tile. So we'll add a field called record. It's an object. And what this does, we connect all of the data from this data tile into this in binding called record. So now this record will come out of the component and we can use it in other parts of our screen. So if we want to put together the rest of the screen, this is how we do it. We would need, now that we have the body of our form, we would need the nav bar for what a new input form would look like. This is a component. This is standard in our library. So let's do a search for nav bar. It's again in our base design system, and we'll call it navbar new and update. Preview what it looks like. This component includes a couple of things. It takes in a record to be saved. It has icons to save and to pop back to the screen that you came from. So let's, over here, when we click on the in binding, we want to change the title of that's in the nav bar to new person. And we want to attach the record from the component into the nav bar for one reason. If we drill in, we can take a look at what. The record is coming into the component. It's then being attached to a save action. And that save action is going to be invoked when this check mark is clicked. You'll see the invoke action here connected to the save. And with regard to the X icon here, that is a cancel button that's invoked when it's tapped, and that action it's connected to an action that pops back to the screen you came from. So now that we have the two sections of our input form separately designed in our graph interface, we want to put it together in our final layout view. So let's swap out the one we have here to one that actually exists that we like. Let's call it nav layout base. Layout, nav, and body, which is exactly what we have. It has two in bindings for the containers to be connected to it. So let's connect the nav bar to the nav bar container in our final layout view, and person input form component to the body. And there you have it. This is our new person screen. Be sure to save your screen. And now we can publish the app, preview it, and enter some data.